Hey YouTube, how's it going? Torsar the Barbarian here with another sports talk video. Today I wanted to talk about the NFL, end of the NFL season, and what teams are doing as far as the teams that aren't still in contention or have already made the playoffs. We all know at the end of the NFL season, there's pretty much two categories of teams: those who, like I just said, have made the playoffs or are still in contention, which essentially these next 2 weeks are playoff games for them. Like the Philadelphia Eagles, this weekend's game versus the Redskins, that's essentially a playoff game. Next week versus the Cowboys, that's essentially a playoff game for them. And then there's a second set of teams that they already know they're done, and they're looking at their head coach, their GM, the QB position, what kind of draft picks they have, etc., etc. Teams like the Giants, the Jaguars, the Texans, we can go on. Now, one of these teams that is kind of shocking that's in the second set of teams is the Seattle Seahawks. And what are they going to do? What does Russell Wilson want to do? Because it shouldn't be what do the Seahawks want to do. Russell Wilson has a no trade clause, so he's pretty much got a decent amount of power in that situation. Now, last season, at the end of the year, there were two QBs who we had to hear from all off season long, belly aching and whining. One of them was Aaron Rodgers. The other was Russell Wilson. All right, and I thought the whole time the Rodgers thing, he wasn't leaving Green Bay. He was just trying to, cry for more power, and it worked. And this year, you know what? It looks like he made the right decision, and I don't think he's leaving Green Bay. Some people still think he does. He will. I think it would be a mistake. I think he's going to end his career as a Packer. I think that's probably something he wants to do. I think they're just too good of a team. They've been in contention the last 2 years. They're going to be in contention this year. It would just be the wrong move. Now, Russell Wilson, on the other hand, I thought he should have left. That was a mistake. I don't know what he thought was going to change this year. I just don't see, and this year proved it to be true. He should have left. He should have got out of there. All he did was take more pain and suffering. He's kind of having his legacy tarnished a little bit now. Now, one of the teams he's been talked about that was on his infamous, list of teams he would get traded to is, the team I root for, the New York Football Giants. Now, I'm just going to say this right now. I don't want Russell Wilson. And you know what? Russell Wilson shouldn't want to go to the Giants. Now, I'm going to show you some stats right here that kind of back up what I'm talking about. So this is the most sacked QBs over the last 5 years. All right. Now, not shockingly, I think we all could have guessed Russell Wilson takes that number one spot. All right. But guess who else is on this list? Look at this. Daniel Jones, sacked 105 times in only 38 games. Now, he's not exactly an immobile quarterback. You could say, he might hold on to the ball too long. Well, you know what? A lot of these QBs hold on to the ball too long when no one's getting open. Tom Brady had that problem at one point. And you see a guy like Lamar Jackson who's played in 20 more games, and this is over the last 5 years, by the way. He's played in 20 more games, and he's only been sacked one more time. Now, this is a running QB where it doesn't matter if it was a designed run for the quarterback. If he takes the ball and gets sacked and gets tackled behind the line of scrimmage as a quarterback, that counts as a sack. All right? It's not like when a running back gets handed off the ball and gets blown up and for a 3-yard loss. To him, it's just a 3-yard loss. For Lamar Jackson, it's a 3-yard loss, and it counts as a sack. So the fact that this guy has 20 more games played, or even a garbage time guy, like look at Mitchell Trubisky. 18 more games played, he's only been sacked 6 more times. So what this tells you is that, and we all know it, the Giants' offensive line has been horrible for years. Now, if you're Russell Wilson, you've been running for your life your whole time in Seattle. Even when they were good, he's been running for his life. Why would you want to go to a team that has proven year after year after year they are incapable of building an even average NFL offensive line? Why would you want to do that? Especially when some of the other teams that are on your list actually have decently rated offensive lines. Now, one of the other teams, and I think this would be the best fit for him, one of the other teams he's been rumored to go to, and this is the best rated offensive lines for this season. Okay, now this isn't an overriding stat that it's just like it's set in stone, or it's not. This is just ratings. This isn't like, oh, one guy has 20 touchdowns, this guy has 15 touchdowns, or this guy has this many yards. No, it's ratings, but it is based off stuff that happens within the game. You could see the New Orleans Saints have the 10th best rated offensive line this year. All right, and that's with the type of QBs that they've had playing behind them. You notice that Jameis Winston was also on this list. Now, this wasn't all compiled with the Saints. Some of this was with the Bucks. But he's kind of been a guy that's known to just sit behind the O-line, patting the ball a couple of times. So for him, combining with the other guys that they've had been playing for them this year, Taysom Hill is a running QB. He has plays where they're designed runs. He gets stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Whatever it is, they're still a decently rated offensive line. You could see most of these other teams that are in the top, too, they're not going to be looking for a QB. Dallas isn't going to be looking for a QB. Tampa Bay, unless Tom Brady wins it this year and just walks off into the sunset and says, I'm done, they're not going to be looking for a QB. The Rams, the Jaguars are, but he's not going to the Jaguars. The Bills aren't looking for a QB. The Browns, even if they are, does he want to go to Cleveland? Maybe they say, hey, we'll trade you Baker and some picks for Russ. I mean, Kansas City, they're not looking for a QB. San Fran, they're not looking for a QB. The Washington football team, yeah, they might be looking for a QB, but again, or they are going to be looking for a QB, but again, does he want to go there? It's about where Russ also wants to go. He has a no trade clause. He's going to get to call his shot with the Seahawks. And you look at the Giants, 28th. And then you see Seattle, 24th. Now, these are two of the other teams, disappointingly. I might be able to make the case for him to, the Steelers look like they might not be a bad option, or the Broncos. But again, if you're Russ and you've been running for your life, your whole NFL career behind a crappy offensive line, do you want to go to a team that is in the bottom half of the league in offensive line? Now, maybe some of these teams, they've had guys, you'd have to take a deeper dive to look who's been injured this year, who hasn't been. Maybe they'll change coaches. You could see some of these position could completely turn around in a year, but it's not likely. It's more than likely, like I said with the Giants, it's just been year after year after year of just porous offensive lines. And that's one of the reasons I'm for them still giving Daniel Jones another shot next year, because how do we really know how good of a QB he is? He doesn't have time to do anything, never mind the fact that his skill position players have been in and out of the lineup all year. And it's what some of these teams value. You look at the Seattle Seahawks. What was it, 5-6 years ago? I think 6 years ago now, when they traded their center, they traded Max Unger and a first-round pick for Jimmy Graham. Why? How did that work out? Jimmy Graham isn't even on the team right now. He's basking in obscurity in Chicago now, I believe. It's like, Jimmy Graham for your center? And Max Unger was a good center. So I don't know if that's something that Russell Wilson wanted at the time. I don't know whose idea that was. He needs to get out of Seattle, though. They're done. I mean, that ship's been sailed for a couple years now, and it's kind of like Eli Manning in his last few years. The only reason the Seattle Seahawks have even been relevant as at all is because of their quarterback. He's the only thing that's even been giving them a chance. All the other things that are the hallmarks of a good team. Their defense isn't what it used to be. Their skill position players are, they don't have a running game. They don't have a good offensive line. It's just like all these things that a QB would look for, like when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay. I mean, this is just justifying. Look at all their skill positions. They have the second rated offensive line this year. I mean, it's already been justified last year. They won the Super Bowl. Obviously, he made the right choice. I believe, looking at the offensive line play, the skill position players, the coach that's in place, a Super Bowl winning coach. And for some reason, people want to throw his wife in there, like, oh, Ciara isn't going to want to go here. Ciara isn't going to want to go there. Man, cut it out. They could be playing in Juneau, Alaska, and Ciara is going to be able to get wherever she wants to go, all right? This is the internet era. You don't need to live in Los Angeles. You don't need to live in New York City. You can live anywhere in the country. It might be a little bit more inconvenient, but I mean, if you want to win, are you really gonna like factor that in because your wife doesn't want to live in Pittsburgh or Cleveland or Denver or wherever other these you know non-desirable locations as far as like being an entertainer? I mean, I don't think that should be a factor. But saying that, if it is a factor for them, because I don't know, it could be, New Orleans is a pretty good place to be as far as entertainment goes. So that's probably going to be his best option. He should not stay with the Seahawks. Please, as a Giants fan, I don't want him. I've always thought Russ was kind of fake to begin with. He's a good QB. I still think when he's healthy, he's probably still a top 5 QB in the league. But he's just that kind of that rah go team go type of stuff. I mean, I don't know. I just think he'll get too much attention in New York City. That kind of media will pick that stuff apart. And he's just, it's time for him to just go to a place where he can just sit behind the line and have time to throw and kind of have that second half of his career be less about let Russ cook and just let Russ actually like throw the ball. All these unscripted plays and him running around for like 40 yards behind the line of scrimmage before he finally throws the ball down the field. You can't win like that. It might be exciting to watch sometimes, but I mean, how much have the Seahawks won with that style of football? And they're not getting any better. Pete Carroll should probably leave too. I don't know if he's going to or not. I think that team just needs to totally reboot everything they're doing. But please take the New York Giants off your list, and please leave Seattle. I know we're probably going to have to hear about it all off season long, about how Russ this, his list, Russ. It just gets old. Just leave already, man. But what do you guys think? Obviously, everyone's going to have a million different opinions on this, and most of it only time will tell, But like I said, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like the video, dislike, comment, subscribe if you want to see more content. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later, and Happy New Year!